All right, gentlemen. So first, thank y'all for coming on. Ihsan and I have been doing these video broadcasts for a few weeks now, and what really started this was, ever since the COVID-19 crisis began, and we started dealing with the quarantine, our initial mission, what brought us together before all of this started, was the work that we were doing in the community around the issue of behavioral health, mental health. When you get a chance, put your microphones on mute for me because there's feedback happening. But what we were doing was basically having monthly conversations that were happening in the community, specifically around the issue of suicide, bullying, and violence prevention. And so as we entered this time of quarantine, Ihsan had reached out to me around the time that we were supposed to do our monthly gathering at the library for MBKCares, and really wanted to continue the discussions and figure out how we can do that. And so that's what brought about the Facebook Live conversations that you're now a part of today. So today we brought on a bunch of gentlemen who all have a background either as a veteran or serving veterans. And we wanted to get your particular unique perspective on not just the COVID crisis, but how you and your family and your communities have been dealing with this issue. What are some things that you've seen happen? What are some of the challenges you face, but also what are some good things that have come out of this? We want to make sure we leave people with not only an understanding that there is something positive that could come out of this, but also some resources too. So if you have any information, you have a social media post or a website or any resources for the community that you want to provide, you can put that information in the chat box, or you can give it to us, or you can, make an announcement before the before the interview is over, and we'll make sure to share that with the community. So now, Ihsan, you can take over, and then we're going to go around and do a round of introductions.
Yes, my name is Ihsan Hines from MBKCares, the founder of an organization that was started in memory of my younger brother, Hines, who died from suicide. That's actually a picture of artwork with his likeness on it behind me. So we started an organization to try to help people dealing with mental health and families who have lost people to suicide. But we realized it was bigger than just some mental health concerns. It was also things to do with economic empowerment, mentorship, a lot of things that have come out of it that have to do with the diet, a lot of other things that just as people we need in order to survive. So programming has come out of that. But right now the focus for this pandemic and this quarantine is how do we survive it dealing with our mental health? How do we survive it dealing with our physical health? And how do we survive it dealing with our diet? But also just wanted to talk about productive activities that we're doing that have nothing to do with our health, such as some of the things that I know you guys are into. I know some of you are veterans, and Reginald, I know you have been very active helping people with their mental health, but just being Black men, I thought we had a voice that I wanted to borrow some of your wisdom and also have you lend that information and your insight to the community. So tonight I have some questions and Eric has some for you as well. Also want to thank our audience who is watching us. I don't take it for granted that hundreds of people have been watching this, and we appreciate every single one of you. We hope that you're getting something out of it, and we also welcome you to ask us questions in the question box or the comment box on this Facebook post. You can also email mbkcares@gmail.com. And any of these gentlemen and their organizations, they have resources that we're going to share on the post below this episode, and in the following days as well, different resources that they provide. So we're going to start off just asking. I actually want to lend the floor right now to you, Shawn. Are you welcome right now? You available to talk to me right now, Shawn?
Make sure you take
your muted.
Yeah.
Now.
Hey, Shawn, can you hear me, brother?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. So I just want to say peace and blessings, man, to everyone, man. All the panel that's here today, and everyone who's listening. My name is Shawn Wilson. I am the founder of Veterans in the Hood. We're a nonprofit organization based right here in Philadelphia. We work and advocate on behalf of military veterans helping them to get to a better quality of life through wellness, be it physical, mental, spiritual, and financial. A lot of the veterans that I service and have been servicing, I myself am a 100% disabled veteran of the United States Army, and have been assisting and with referrals of veterans, their caregivers, families, and supporters to help them to get benefits that will that they don't sometimes never even do anything about. We work with the Veterans Affairs Office, Miss Wanda Pate, and in room 127 in City Hall, as well as numerous other veterans organizations across the city of Philadelphia. And so we have been active now, and actually as a 501c3 since 2017. Myself, I've dealt with a lot of traumas and tragedies. I'm born and raised here in Philadelphia. After going to high school, man, I entered into the United States Army, was injured in the Army, came home, didn't know anything about getting benefits, started working at Graterford Prison, became a corrections officer, did that for a year and a half, and then became a Philadelphia police officer and did that for 20 years. So I've had my share of trauma and tragedies and all kinds of physical, mental, spiritual hurts and hangups and things that have led me down a rabbit hole towards, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and doing all of that and happen to still be a husband, father, a son, and just an all-around servant. So as we're dealing with this COVID-19 today, my close cousin of mine is actually fighting for his life on life support right now as a result of the COVID-19 virus. It's attacking, and it's not just him. It is his wife, his son has contracted it, as well as his mother, and so our community is getting hit very, very hard. So the mental aspect of what is happening during this epidemic is very, 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 very crucial. And I'm glad that we are here today as Black men talking about this situation, because talking is the one part of it, and knowing that is half the battle, but the other portion of it is just what you were talking about, Ihsan, and that's in regards to making sure that we physically, mentally, and spiritually, take care of ourselves. Our diet, is what counts. A lot of the times, a lot of the things that's happening now is because of a poor diet, as well as and not just food diet, but the diet that we feed ourselves mentally, and the things that we have to go through, in the inner cities. And so what we have been trying to do, and what our intent is every day, is to motivate, educate, and give inspiration, to everyone, not just our veterans, but to our entire community. Because when we go through the fire and we go through the tests that we go through, it's to make us stronger. So we do have connections with the Veterans Multi-Services Center, which is still open and operating right now. And I want everyone to know that, to know that they can, if you're a veteran and you're in need of resources and support, even throughout the COVID-19 lockdown, that you can also go to the Multi-Services Center, which is right around 4th and Race, to get help for anything that you may be going through right now. So any veteran, as also as myself, if you just need someone to talk to, I can be reached at 267-210-5381, or email at vets, VETS in the hood, vetsinthehood@gmail.com. Okay. And I'm available, to speak with anyone who's having issues, who may be feeling not like themselves during this time, because of all the trauma that's going on. We definitely know what that's about. We know and have been down that road as well and have made it through it. And the thing is, we a lot of times are bullied by just the mental aspect because we are men, and a lot of times we don't want to really talk about the things that hurt us mentally, you know what I mean, and even spiritually. We kind of like just keep it pushing, and especially the guys who are been in the military, because we've been taught to overcome and adapt and not talk about those things, but just keep striving and going forward. And what ends up happening is those layers begin to become burdensome, and they become to be very heavy. So I just want to get it out there that the first line of your defense is acceptance. Acceptance that there's something happening within you, within your mind, within your spirit that you definitely need to talk about. So again, you have my number is out there, my email is out there, and I'm here to lend in any way that I can regarding benefits, regarding resources and referrals. I don't want to take up, I know it's a whole lot of people, man, on here, man. So I just want to get that information out there, and I appreciate you guys for giving me the time to come on.
Yeah, that was wonderful, and we appreciate you for that. I want to connect that part to Reggie and Eric. I want you to just continue on after this, all right? But Reginald, I know you do work within the mental health field, and you recently got active with the Black Men Hill organization. I wanted you to introduce yourself and then also talk about what has it been like for you dealing with this last month and a half of this quarantine, social distancing, pandemic.
Thank you, Ihsan. And before I get started, I want to say thank you for the platform. Appreciate it, and I think the mission that you're doing in honor of your brother is like really, it's a good thing, brother. And I wish more brothers would use things that cause trauma in our lives and try to funnel it in the right way, because you could have a totally different path, and I'm glad you're doing it the way you're doing it.
Thank you.
So appreciate you, brother. But again, my name is Reginald Howard. I'm the advocacy outreach specialist for Black Men Hill. So Black Men Hill, in a nutshell, offers free therapy to men of color. There was a huge crisis in the community where everybody was talking about how men need therapy, how men need this, and how the Black community need healing, but everyone's bringing awareness, but nobody's really doing anything about it. But what Black Men Hill wanted to do was they wanted to make sure the barriers that usually keep men from going to therapy were going out the way. So they aligned you with a therapist of color. They took the price off, so now you don't have to worry about price, and then they made it easier and accessible for you. So we created that. I actually went through the inaugural cohort, which was in 2018. So we've been active for a long time, and I went through. It was started by some amazing people, some Tazeen Suleiman, Zakiya Williams, and then and a bunch of other people that were dedicated to a mission of helping Black men. And so I was able to go through it. They helped me tremendously, connecting me with my therapist, George, and we have a tight relationship ever since. And I'm so happy that it existed, because I never even thought about or considered therapy at that point. And so when I went through it, I was like, man, I wanted to be dedicated in going through it and help any way that I can. So I went off and ventured on my own. I started speaking in schools about mental health. I started my own podcast called the Black Mental Health Podcast, where I interview different people about mental struggles, because not only with men being vulnerable, you got other types of men out there that's gay or that's been molested or that went through other traumatic situations. And I always wanted to interview them, because that's not my experience, but I know that it's plaguing our community. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a bunch of young boys out there or a bunch of young people out there that want to feel not alone. And I always tell the kids in the schools, like, you shouldn't feel alone in a room full of people. And the only reason why we feel alone is because everybody is masking how they feel. And so I started my podcast and was interviewing people. And then to fast forward to 2020, to end of 2019, going into 2020, I decided to join Black Men Hill, because I realized I study communication. But when I was talking about mental health, people want that background of like what organization you with, like who do you serve, like what do you do? So I was like, all right, I can't just come up and say, hey, I'm Reg, and I talk about mental health. It's like, what are you doing it for? What's your alignment? So I wanted to align with Black Men Heal because I felt in love with the mission from day one, and I know the treatment that it served. I don't have the veteran experience, but I know Black Men Hill have serviced a lot of men during these cohorts that have been in the military experience. We just did our own virtual safe space for men called King's Corner last Sunday. We're doing them weekly, just like you guys are doing it. And half of the call was military men because they were vets, and they were talking about how we're in a and I don't, forgive me for the proper terms, but biochemical or bio warfare, where right now, and they was trained for this basically, and it's a proper procedure and a proper channels that you have to go through during this time. And so that was major part of the discussion, and we was able to pull gems out of that because not every average man knows that training. So now they was able to give some of those insights. So I'm hoping to get some of that on this call as well. But we've been doing weekly meetings like Zoom, called King's Corner, and we're just trying to do our part and make sure we provide some healing to the community. Our slogan is healed men, and so once you become healed, it's your job, just like Ihsan is doing, to heal other men once you figure it out. That's my spew though.
So where can people follow that King's Corner thing at? Like, is that
it's at Black Men Hill. So if you go on Black Men Hill, it's you register, put your email in so they can send you the Zoom link. But if you go to at Black Men Hill on Facebook and Instagram and on the internet, just Google it. It'll pop right up, and you can join up, and you can go to the King's Corner, and the cohorts are always open. Because we're always trying to bring men in to get on the waiting list. We're all at like 500 right now, but we're building the platform up a lot. So we'll be able to, especially with this virtual space, we'll be able to service a lot of people soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working alongside y'all, man. It's a small world. I found out that I believe, I'm not sure if it's the founder, but the person who responded to me from the Black Man Hill account says that she went to school with my younger brother. She actually knew Atif. So I definitely want to connect with y'all. And if there's anything that we can do to collaborate, we're about community collaborations, whether it's business or just volunteer. So, and also with places of worship and whatever. So we're going to do some stuff together, man. Eric, you got it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's powerful, because I actually had someone reach out to me this morning concerned about a loved one, a young Black man who needed some assistance. So I'm definitely going to follow up with you guys when we get finished this. But I wanted to take this now to talk to Jamal, because Jamal has been active in the community. He and I met a few years ago. It seems like it's actually been longer than that, because this brother is everywhere and touching on so many different subjects and topics. But Jamal, do us a favor, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and the work that you're doing. I think his screen froze.
No, he's muted.
He muted.
There you go. All right. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, my name is Jamal Johnson. Born and raised here in Philadelphia. I came up through, I don't want to say the term through the streets, but the people
from you can say that. You can say that.
People from Philadelphia know the House of Moja, and that's kind of like where my background is. Came through the House of Moja. From there, I went to the military, joined the Marine Corps back in 1975. I was retired disability in 85 as a result of water contamination that caused a disease upon me. Just for a note, anyone who may have known anyone who may have been stationed at Camp Lejeune between 1950 and 1980, let them know they should be evaluated, because they found out that we were contaminated by the water when we were stationed there. And there's some very large lawsuits. Also, the VA has finally accepted our claims and has been investigating what's going on with us. But in addition to that, after I was discharged, I was employed at the post office, which I retired from there about 10 years ago. During that time, I was diagnosed with PTSD, twofold from the military, and additionally from my foster experience, foster care. I don't know if you know it or not, but foster children have PTSD, have been diagnosed with PTSD at a rate higher than military veterans.
Yes.
A lot of people are not familiar with that. So kind of got the double whammy on that one. As far as the community goes, my wife passed away some years ago, and after her passing away, I raised my daughters, and I became aware or became back in tune to what was going on in the community in reference to the violence. So I started a march from Philadelphia to DC to try to address this with the legislators in DC. And that march is going on the 4th year, every August, from Philadelphia to DC. In addition to that, when I'm not doing that, I'm a part of various organizations, namely Stop Killing Us is the main one, and that's the one in which I sponsor the march. I'm also a member of Black Male Community Council of Philadelphia, and we try to address, obviously, the gun violence that's going on in the community, as well as try to support people who are trying to get a financial footing in any type of organization. So if you have some type of endeavor, business-wise, and you need some financial backing, there's a program that's going on now called Black Folks Plan, in which they are actually giving out loans to start businesses, and it's primarily for the Black community. Primarily for the Black community. I believe it's $60 billion or $6 billion. But if you need more information on that, get back with me and I get information on that. Another organization I'm a part of is Poor People's Campaign. Poor People's Army, I'm sorry. Poor People's Army. And they deal mainly with the homeless, trying to help the homeless, women who are in despair as a result of this domestic violence, things like that. The problem that I now have that I'm trying to address is the issue of what seems to be the violence in our community being put to the back burner as a result of the COVID-19, which I understand. You know, this is nothing to play with. But at the same time, I'm still trying to keep the light on as to all the murders that are still happening in our communities and how we don't hear about it on the TV or on the radio as much as we did before the virus came. Additionally, I try to help those who don't have the minimum as far as the virus goes. You know, the masks, the gloves. So I go down to different areas and try to give them free masks and gloves. And I would like to encourage anyone else that can do that to do that also. The main thing that I really would like to express right now is that along with this virus, we can't forget those who are dying in the streets. They're still being killed. You know, 19-year-old young man was killed last night, I believe. So we have to remember that. But there are various organizations that are out here that are willing to help all of us, veterans included. I must also say that I'm a member of the Marine Corps League, Attachment 306, and we're also involved in trying to stop the crime, stop the killings in the community. It's comprised mainly of Marines, and a lot of us are elder Marines, but anybody who is younger Marine or who is active duty can still come and be a part of us. And we look forward to you joining us. We made a sub-chapter of that called Veterans Against Community Violence, in which our goal is to try to minimize
despite, you know, the things we've been through. What they say, it's not about where you come from, but it's about where you're going. And I think you've been doing some phenomenal work. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And make sure when you get a chance to share the information about the loan program that you mentioned and any other organizations. What we're going to do is we're going to actually provide those links to the folks that are watching. But next, I want to take it to Lamar Dixon. Lamar, we haven't had a chance to meet yet, so please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and what you've been doing and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, will do. First, I want to thank you guys for having this platform, man. It's been a pleasure listening to the, to the other members of the platform. But my name is Lamar Dixon. I'm a veteran. I'm an author, and I'm the executive director for a nonprofit called Dedicated to Greatness Basketball. My story is similar to, Shawn and Jamal. I spent time in the military, spent 14 years in the military. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I was stationed in Qatar, Langley Air Force Base, Italy, and Turkey. And when I got out the military, it was a struggle, right? I didn't know about those programs like Shawn was talking about earlier. I didn't know about the different things. So I found myself like in a deep hole where I didn't know where to go. So I used some of the programs for education. I went to community college, then graduated from Temple University, and I wound up getting my MBA from University of Maryland. And from there, I wound up working at Campbell Soup, Microsoft, and this company called USLBM. During my journey, I created Dedicated to Greatness with one of my partners, and Dedicated to Greatness basically we seek to create groundwork for kids in our area to develop individual skills in the assembly of basketball. So during that time, we've been hosting free basketball clinics. We had a book bag donation giveaway with one of our state reps in the area. We just, we hosted scholarships as well for the last 4 to 5 years. And one thing I found, what Reginald said earlier, he was talking about how some of those guys talked about how the military prepared them for what's going on now. And it is the truth, right? We've probably all been a part of different phases where you have to put on a gas mask for about a week or so, and you basically sit still, and that's how I think I'm getting through it right now myself with my family.
All right.
Excellent.
I'm sorry.
No. I wanted to delve into that a little bit, just because I know Shawn and Jamal, that was something that y'all touched on before our conversation started. But Lamar, tell us a little bit more about that experience in the military, preparing for times like this, and how is that translated into what we're experiencing today? And I want to ask the same question to Shawn and Jamal as well.
Yeah. So with like each place you go to is like every 3 to 4 months, you have a thing where it's like a phase exercises where you're wearing the gas mask, you're wearing all the PPE gear, and they'll say different mop levels, and during those times you're just waiting around. You're waiting around. You got to be cognizant of everything that's going on. And in the military, it's always this hurry up and wait type thing. So, being patient and things of that nature, and just understanding what's going on. I mean, I think the military kind of played a part in how I'm dealing with it today.
Excellent. Shawn, you want to touch on that?
The thing that really stands out for me is just really watching our surroundings, man. Just here in Philadelphia, man. Just watching how the people that are walking around with masks. You know what I mean? And then I just came back in, man. I had a problem in the house, and I had to get a water heater put in. But I was just looking on the way back from Home Depot, man, looking at people minimizing this thing and not really understanding, because they haven't understood what these biochemical what that looks like. The agents and the things that get released into the atmosphere, you can't see them. And the biggest thing within our community is, and this is within our people, period, man, we are a show me people. In terms of, we believe in like, show me. If it's that way, or whatever is happening, you have to actually physically see it in our community. you know, so they're not afraid. They should be more afraid. I seen guys outside shooting crack just now. I seen a crack game going on, man, on the side of a park. And it's amazing to me that because they don't see people pulling up, man, with AK-47, you know what I mean, or you know, with some tools on it, some real heat. They don't understand that the heat is unseen. The heat is unseen, and then the thing is, what's so bad within our communities, and you can see the way that the government is doing it. They are literally, and what we have seen through our training, how you go about attacking an enemy is when they is giving it to them when they don't even know that they're under attack. So when you don't see guns shooting at you, when you don't see somebody coming at you with a knife, you know, and the biggest thing that they say, what they're saying now is, let's open everything back up, starting with, you know, the very things that the people in our communities really make their money off. We're talking about opening up barbershops, hair salons, nail salons, which is heavy in our communities. And so the conversation that we were kind of like having a little bit earlier, myself and Jamal, really was about a text that or a post that was put up regarding, you know, the things that's happening with the new police commissioner or with the police department, period, you know, in terms of the violence that's happening in our city. And myself, like Jamal, you know, I'm fully aware of it, but what I see and what has to happen is more of what's happening today, where you have individuals who have distinct experience and knowledge about the things that are happening. But we have to be able to have a platform, which is this. And again, thank you to Ihsan, for doing this, man, and for putting us and bringing us together. Because the more information and the more knowledge, just like G.I. Joe used to say, you know, knowing is half the battle. Yeah. It's like knowing is just half the battle. So when you know that when you're under attack, it's up to you to now really look at it for what it is. And when you see the amount of people dying that we see dying every day, you have to understand that the enemy really is invisible, but the enemy is very, very deadly. Yeah. So I just want to say that, you know, and just, you know, we have to be more unified in the way we move, so that we can get this information out to the younger generation of people who haven't served like we have.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Jamal, you want to jump in and give us your thoughts around how your training has prepared you for this? What similarities do you see, or what advice do you want to give to people based on your experience?
Well, let me first say that I'm probably having flashbacks somewhat, because as prior Marine Corps drill instructor, I used to train and recruit how to deal with biochemical warfare and things like this. And when I started taking on the battle in the streets against the violence, I started wearing my dog tags on the outside of my clothes instead of the inside, because I feel that there's a war going on in the streets prior to. Now, since the virus appeared, like Shawn said, now we have an invisible enemy, but it's still a war going on.
Yep.
Fortunately, the people out, there's a figure, for lack of a better word, they don't realize that the enemy is out there and is seeking every time you talk to someone, every time you go past somebody, every time you congregate. You know, I've been in conflict with people that I've known for years. People have stopped talking to me. They think I'm too extreme in the way that I handle myself. But they don't understand, know what I know. And unfortunately, I think that's why our population, African American population, are more affected than probably other ethnic groups in this whole country. Virus. They have a lackadaisical attitude, which is one of the things that does motivate me to go out to places like in Allegheny and give them the mask. You know, because I do know that their priorities are not taking care of themselves. In addition to that, they need to still be protected. But we need to be protected too, but for whatever reason, and like Shawn said, I just walked up to the hey, a whole group of them out there, you know, shooting crabs. I'm like, yo, you know what's going on? No, don't worry about it. And unfortunately, a lot of these conspiracy theories are floating around there, the official one being that black people won't get the virus. I can't believe anybody ever believed it, but I know they do. And so, you know, I think it's important that we all, those of us who have enough intelligence to realize this is real, I think we all should, number one, show an example. Number two, no matter who we come to, please remind them that they need to protect themselves so they can protect us. Because we dress. I walk out of my house, I'm a uniform. Okay, my uniform is the gloves, my uniform is the mask, my uniform is the wipes. Okay, if you want to come around me, you have 6 feet and you better have your stuff on. If you don't, then I'm going to remind you. And people are starting to know me for that. And, you know, the bottom line is I'm trying to save you. And I tell them I wear my stuff to save you. And I want you to wear your stuff to save me.
Yeah.
So I hope people can start getting better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dope, man.
Yeah.
It's good. You talked about some things about both of y'all, or all of y'all talked about like how certain training is happening. And it seemed like everybody is saying a message about like self-preservation, but also being responsible for the community as a whole. So I appreciate you for putting that message out. Reggie, I'm going to transition to you. I know you're not coming from a military background, but the place that I met you at was at, I forget the name of the meeting right now, but it was a men's discussion group about mental health.
You good,
I'm
man?
looking right now. What was that?
You good, man?
You good, man. Philip Roundtree's meeting. So I met you there maybe just a couple of weeks before this pandemic actually started. And I find it interesting that right there is like the work of the types of things they're talking about. Now, I know military is a whole different thing, but it still was like going through training and also dealing with trauma that we've been through by going to support groups and stuff to be prepared. Has being in those types of support groups and dealing with your own journey to understand mental health, has it prepared you differently to be able to handle what you're dealing with right now?
Yeah, I would say that 100%. First, before I get into the answering that question, I'd like to thank all the men on this phone call for your service, because y'all go out there and do things or been through things that we would never even imagine. So thank you for what you did and have already done, and I appreciate it greatly. And I think to answer your question, we, just like they went through military training, I'm basically going through mental health training. You know what I mean? So when you got the warfare of anxiety or depression or suicide, I think with growing up within the Black community, we don't get that training. You know what I mean? We get the training on how to shoot craps. We get the training on how to sell drugs. We get the training on how to shoot your gun, but we don't get the training on, what happened if your brother dies, or what happens if you're stressed out about bills, or what happens if you contemplate suicide. You know what I mean? And which I had multiple, from cutting myself to about to jump off a bridge to taking pills. Like, I've had multiple suicide attempts, and every time when I went to somebody or had that conversation with somebody, it's just like a military, somebody going to a military vet and asking them about war. They can give them all the training and scenarios, but if you've never been through that war, you can't give no examples of how to help. And so I was talking to people within my community about it, and they didn't have any solutions because we had never been trained. And so me going to the You Good Man group with Phil Roundtree, me being in Black Men Hill with Tasneem Suleiman and everybody that's in there, because even one of our partners is a military vet, Doug Reed. He's been giving me some training, and he actually, just like you guys, just like Jamal, Doug said, he was like, "Hey, Reg, you ain't got a mask? I'm coming to give it to you." He coming from Jersey to give me a mask, because he like, "You don't need to be walking out here without your gear." And so he was saluting on that. So I was able to, because I went through these mental health workshops and trainings and certifications, I was able to get some of the things to be able to handle what's going on now, like being journaling, meditating, working out from home, working in solitude into your environment. So just getting different trainings from mental health has helped me a lot during this time.
Yeah, that's excellent, man.
That's dope. Hey, Ihsan, let me jump in real quick, just on 1 second. 2 things. One, if you're listening to this on Facebook while we're doing having this conversation, turn your Facebook down, because we're getting feedback from the show that's on already. And 2, I think Reginald might be able to help with this, but I just want to reinforce this idea that because of what we're talking about, and we understand that the purpose of this conversation is really for mental health, if anyone is having a difficult time either being part of this conversation or hearing this conversation, or if it's too triggering, feel free to step out, turn your camera off, do whatever you need to do for yourself, for your mental health, because I understand, and bringing this kind of conversation up can also be triggering. So I just wanted to put that out there, to be mindful that, you know, the conversation is not any more important. It's less important to us than your well-being. So I wanted to share that.
Yeah. I think that, but with that, I want to share a phone number too, because I was thinking the same thing, Eric. There was something Reggie was talking about as far as like thoughts and also attempts of suicide. I believe right now we're being joined by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I spoke to someone, or I was communicating with one of the people on their board, Janet Evans, and I believe she's on here now. But there's resources out here for people who may be watching right now. Maybe you can connect to Reggie's experience, and if not, maybe you can connect to mine. I've had plans to take my life before, even as a mental health advocate. And there's a phone number that's a step. It may not be the end all be all, but there's a step that can help you. It's a phone number called the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And that phone number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. Also, MBKCares, we're establishing some hands-on networks right now. We're trying to be more tangible and have our feet to the ground in the community. So I even give out my phone number, 267-580-9440. And if you want to talk to me personally, you can call me and I'll share some things with you. I'll listen to you, but also try to plug you into other resources. There's faith-based resources in the community. As you can hear, Shawn has established some things that are veteran-focused community engagement. Lamar has things to train and discipline young men. And then Reggie's connected to Black Men Hill. Shawn is connected to the Stop Killing. Eric has things that are dealing with focusing on fathers and just trying to help men with mentorship. There's a lot of ways you try and attack this thing when it comes to mental health. It's not just straight up get somebody to not jump off the building, but how do you reach the core of what it is that gets them to get to that place? How do you deal with the heartbreak of losing a girl? How do you deal with the shattering of a Black family when somebody might go to jail and there's nobody to bring mental health support? Because that's something that never gets talked about. You snatch a family member and take them to jail, counselors should come around for that, because you're losing a key part of your family or your community, or just a lot of things. I wanted to highlight something with you, Lamar, because I've known you since 9th grade. I met you when I was 14 years old, and you're one of my closest friends. First of all, I appreciate everything every one of y'all have done when it comes to serving this world through the military and serving the world through just straight up the way that you walk as men. Lamar, I've known you to be a father. I know you as a point of a student, as a friend, as a father, a lot of things. The overcoming that you've done as far as a student, first of all, I'm gonna praise you for it, and then I want you to say, what would you say to somebody in your shoes, right? I watched Lamar go from, and don't be embarrassed because this guy has a master's degree and he's on his way to a doctorate. Lamar went from somebody who really didn't enjoy schoolwork. He was always a good person, but he didn't really enjoy schoolwork. And I watched him overcome having a child at a young age when that could have taken him out. I watched him overcome not having a father present in the home when that could have taken him out. Or he could have used these things as excuses to say, I'm just going to go the street route. Instead, he had a loving mother and he had something inside of him and God in his life. And he overcame that and wound up going to the military. He came back from the military, pursued his degree at Community Temple, and then got his master's degree. And on top of that, became an exceptional father. And I salute you for that. But I want you to tell me, what would you say to a young man right now who finds himself struggling with getting bad grades, or find himself in, we went to Lean On Me, man. We went to West Philly High when it was at the bottom, you know, and how do you tell somebody at the bottom or in a situation that's designed for them to fail, how to overcome that? What would you say to that man right now?
Man, just keep pushing. Like, you know, I think that like for us, like to be in that situation, we needed people to give us that push. Like we didn't see people that were successful, you know, growing up other than teachers, right? So just going downtown, for me, like going downtown and seeing guys walk around with suits on, and, you know, at the gallery, I think it's called the Fashion District now, but just seeing guys walk around in suits, it gave purpose, right? It gave me this sense of like, man, I could be that guy. I could be him. I can make a difference, and I can go back and tell people how I got to that point. And I just think that it's very important for us to, like my kids, the kids that I have in my program, like if they're walking by me, I tell them, you're special, you're great. You could be somebody. Like you just have to believe it first. You got to see it. Like I always I'm looking downtown and being successful or looking successful, whatever. And I think that's what pushed me. But it's just I think we as men, we as black men, we have to like tell those kids, the kids that's on the corner, like, yo, you're great, like you're special, and you can be somebody. You can make a difference.
Yeah,
That's all I ever want to be. Yeah.
You know what, man? Because like I have a father, and I have a good relationship with my father. But growing up, it was just me in the home with my mom and my brother, though. So I mean, you had a dad too, but we were actively raised by a single mom. And there's one thing, I read your book. You wrote a book called Let Fear Go, and that book was incredible, man. And it helped me to look at some of the things in my own life that actually stopped me from even trying. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you for saying what you're saying. I saw you actually let fear go. And you pointed out something that's important, man. Affirmation. Like you really are talking about being like almost like a knight, like somebody's putting a sword on your shoulder saying you are now a knight, you're now a man. And we don't always get that in our community. You get that from like gang initiations or doing something dumb, something stupid. But for doing something good, you often don't get saluted. So I just wanted to tell you, I'm proud of you. And anybody out there who's listening and watching this, if you're a C student, if you have children young, if you have any background, if you're in jail, if you've been out of jail, if you've been counted out, you're in the perfect position for a trampoline to go forward. And not just on some cliche stuff. You have experience that somebody can't teach you in college. You have experience that somebody can't take from you. Your convictions come from a place of power, from a place of fortitude. And I salute all of y'all because I know you're overcoming. Even Shawn right now, bro. I want Eric to speak to you, but just the strength right now to be on here, knowing what you're doing with your family. I appreciate all of y'all, and I know there's people out there right now dealing with grief, dealing with all kinds of struggles when it comes to finances, dealing with all kinds of things. Just that life is changing, and faith is important because it is an invisible enemy we fighting. It's not just COVID. We're fighting an invisible enemy of demons, of the devil, of all that, but we also got an invisible, powerful God. All right. I'm sorry, Mar.
Yeah, and I was gonna say if anyone's out there and they're struggling, man, just know, like right now, like you can't be like the old you and the new you at the same time. You just gotta, see who you want to be and just take those steps to become that person, become that, if it's to serve the community, figure it out, find a mentor, ask people if it's, to be a entrepreneur, and just, do whatever you need to do, but stay focused and just know that you're going to get there, just doing the right things.
Eric, I want you to transition. I want to say something with what Mar just said. Mar, we were without an excuse, man, because even without having fathers around, we were fortunate to go to that bad school, but have ROTC there, and to have people who came from a military background who may not even look like us, but cared about us being all right. And they took the time to tell us things. So we were without excuse. And I want to say that to anybody out there, we were without excuse for making the most out of today. Because no matter what happened yesterday, you can make the most out of today. That's the only gift any of us have right now. Shawn?
Absolutely.
Check something in that real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamal, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, especially to the people who are out of here, the first responders and the people who are in the street feeding people and trying to make sure that everyone has what they need to make it from day to day. I just want to say you have to caution yourself against burnout, because you've been exposed to people who are dealing with a lot of trauma they've never known or never knew how to deal with. So you may see people falling apart, you see a lot of tears, you may see children that seem like they're scared. And I'm saying that to say that, for me anyway, even though I'm involved with quite a few different things, I do different things because I believe that it doesn't allow me to get to the point I get with the grief that I'm around. So I may feed the homeless one day, go down and give somebody gas the next day. I may do something just for fun with people next. The thing is, you're always helping people, but it doesn't have to always be on the level of hurt and pain, grief, sorrow. You still help people. You don't have to necessarily help them in the midst, or at least not in the exhibiting of the pain and grief that they go through. Find something, support people who are doing things that bring smiles to people's faces and take you out of that zone where all you see is the grief of what's in our community. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, man. Hey, Eric, I actually want to ask you a question, man. Can I ask the moderator a question right now? You mind?
The co-moderator? Yeah, that's no problem.
You know, over the last couple of weeks when we started this started from the two of us just having like a similar idea to have a discussion, and it became something that neither one of us could have imagined, right? And just the last couple of weeks, how have the last few weeks been for you? Now that you've been, like we were talking about, like things that you're doing to get through this process of pandemic or quarantine, social distance, whatever you want to call it. What have the last couple of weeks been like for you?
Oh, wow. So first I want to say, you know, to put it in context, today is the 1 month anniversary of my sister's passing, right? And so, you know, my sister was somebody that was deeply, deeply close to, and who meant a lot to me, but also was a light to the world. You know, the number of people that she knew, the countries that she's traveled in, and things like that. And so literally 1 month ago today was the day that she passed. And so coming out of that, I'll be honest with you, I'm absolutely surprised at where I am now compared to where I was then. I mean, even the week or two after her passing is usually when it hits folks. Like, so you're in the midst of dealing with loss and grief, and we're dealing with trauma. And like Jamal just said, people who are used to taking care of other people, you just go into go mode, right? And so a lot of times it doesn't hit you immediately. And so for me, the last couple of weeks have really been trying. But since we started these conversations, it has been part of a healing process for me. Along with the conversations, I've also taken the time to start a gratitude journal. I've heard about them for years, knew the concept, always thought it was just, yeah, you know, you could be grateful, but well, you know, what's the point? I mean, it can't be nothing major because it's so simple, right? But the reality is just being able to sit down every morning before I start my day and write 10 things that I'm grateful for, 10 things that are different than the day before. Right, and that's the challenge. You got to write 10 things that are different than the previous day, because what that does is that makes you dig down and re-examine your life and think about the things that actually, you know, you are grateful for. And it really starts making you think of certain things. Like, you know, one of the things I wrote on my gratitude journal this morning was, I'm thankful for my legs. And a lot of people won't understand that, take it out of context, but many people don't know. 2 years ago, I was laid up. Like I had a spontaneous patella tendon rupture in both of my knees, where I had to have emergency surgery. I was out of work for 3 months. You know, I was laying with full leg cast on. A lot of people don't realize that. And so being able to take that walk today that you and I talked about, which is another part of my healing process, you know, being able to get out in the morning and go for an hour walk in my community, it made me think back to the fact that there was a time when I couldn't walk, and just being grateful of that. So the process is really like holistic. I've really been looking at my whole life in general, you know, being grateful that I'm able to have a job and work from home, being able to have conversations with brothers like you and brothers who are on this call today, have really been life-changing. And so that's the reason why I made a point to go back and stop the conversation and ask people to check in with themselves and take care of themselves, mentally, emotionally, right? Because that's what I had to do. And I think that's the purpose of, just like you reached out to me and said, hey, listen, we can't meet at the library this month, but it's a lot of people out here struggling, and I'm struggling too. You know, our ability as men to be vulnerable at some point in time, and I think this is important for those of us with military background training to talk about how do you get to a point of transparency and vulnerability? When you can talk about your pain, when you can talk about your injuries, when you talk about your hurts, that allows the healing process to start. And so the fact that, I'm just grateful that you called me and asked, it came with the idea of us having these conversations, because I think I can tell just through the number of viewers that we've had over the past couple of weeks, that is transformational for a lot of people. And I just want to say, for me, to answer your question more succinctly, these past couple of weeks have been a really, really coming alive again. So, yeah. Thank you.
Same here, man. I went a couple of days ago. I went up to Lower Merion. I usually go for walks every couple of days, and I mentioned on one of the very first meeting, on how there was already trauma I was experiencing from Kobe Bryant dying, because he died January 26th, and that was like the big story and the big heartache of the whole country. And then like a month and a half later, we had this pandemic that hit us. But I mean, that fails in comparison. I mean, like, that's not even the same thing. Like, this is impacting all of us, like, on personal tip, but emotionally.
But let me share something with you though about that, because we got to be very careful about minimizing our pain and our grief.
Right.
I shared a podcast the first week that we were doing this, and one of the things that was shared there is that everybody's grief is unique to them.
Yeah.
Everybody's pain is unique to them. And for some people, Kobe Bryant's death might have been their first experience of grief and loss, right? Because we have to really think about who we're talking to, and everybody's experience is somewhat different. So I always just want to send that reminder, like, don't minimize your own pain when you're feeling it.
It was pretty traumatic. I was going through just a week, about 3 weeks ago from that. I was going through the beginning of a breakup. And I remember Kobe Bryant's death. It triggered some emotions that I didn't really realize were deep. Like, I cared about basketball, but not that much. Like, Kobe was my favorite athlete. But I bring it up to say, going to his high school for a walk the other day, walking through Lower Merion, it felt like it was a step in healing. And just being able to celebrate, like, seeing the building that Kobe Bryant had named in his honor, Bryant Gymnasium, and being able to walk around the campus. I mean, that's a beautiful school too. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation about the school and the environment people have around them right now to succeed. They had a full school buses on the campus of this school, like maybe about 20 school buses on this school ground. It looked like a college campus, but it just felt really wonderful to be in that community. I will say one thing I was concerned about, even though this was a good story, the way they look out there is not the way they look out here. Nobody had a mask on. I mean, nobody. I was walking around feeling like I look like a bandit. I look like somebody out here that's up to no good walking around with a mask on. But coming out of Philly, everybody has a mask on. But it just was really interesting how out there nobody had a mask on. It was interesting, and it also was helpful to talk about the things you say the walk gives to you. It gives you a chance to, first of all, get some air, some sunlight, and also just you see the world in a way that you don't always see. I see the world walking in a way I don't see driving, because when you're driving, you gotta focus on the road. You might see things walking like you never noticed were there. Businesses, homes, trees, flowers. Like, it's some weird stuff. I've been staring at like bluebirds and all kinds of things that are just they're there, but you may not even pay them any mind. But yeah, I appreciate it. Eric, can you transition from this point and speak to the other panel?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So and again, I wanted to touch on that. And I think I want to go back to Jamal, right? Because Jamal, you brought up this topic about, the caregivers making sure they care for themselves. So what are you doing to care for yourself? What are you doing to make sure you lighten your load?
Well, what I do basically is every day I try to serve people in a different way. I try not to do the same thing consistently, especially when it comes to the pain I see on people's faces. Even when I do things, food tests, to me, that's still a diversion from when I go and see a family who has no food, and I bring them food, and sure, they're happy to have the food, but you can see the pain in their face because, they had that food before we got there. or you see the kids, saying, do you know when this is going to stop? And then I say, well, I really don't, but you got to take care of yourself. Well, those kind of things, depending on where your heart is at, it can get to you. So not too long ago, the other day, I did sandwiches. I didn't go to other people except the people that were making the food, and I did sandwiches. No grief there, nobody around that showed at least any type of hurt and pain. They may have had it, they didn't show it. Before that, I worked at the warehouse at I think it's Care for Friends or Friends Care out in the Northeast. So, I just make sure I use a variety of ways to still serve people, but not be too consumed by the grief that we all feeling now in this time.
That's beautiful. Reginald, give me some information about, this topic of self-care. What are some tips that you want to give people or make sure people to utilize to make sure that they're caring for their well-being, not just the physical well-being, but the mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being while we're going through this crisis?
Great question. So for me, I had two things that I was doing before this, and it helps a lot of people out too. So I had my power hour where it's 20 minutes of reading, 20 minutes of journaling, and 20 minutes of meditating. Reading helps fill me up. I try not to read so much about the news, but I want to be aware of what's going on. So I read about the news and then give me new thoughts and new insight. Journaling helps me pour out. And so some things that I may not be comfortable sharing with everybody, I pour it out into the journal and get it out there. And then meditating helps me reflect. It helps me just sit and ponder the things that I'm doing. And then within the day, I also have the skeleton of a good day where I got to do X, Y, and Z for me to know that I had a good day. So sometimes that's spending time with my sons, that's spending time with my relationship, that's even spending time on entrepreneurship. But I try to know that I could check at least these 3 to 4 things off, so that way I know that I have a skeleton of a good day. So that's the bare bone minimum of me to know that I had a good, healthy day. And then what I've been telling people now is, because sometimes that's too difficult to think about, in the winter, we can't go out because it's too cold. And so we kind of try to find things that bring us enjoyment in the winter because we aren't allowed outside because of the extreme weathers. So we find things in like movies or spending time with family or, things that bring us enjoyment during the wintertime. And I say we got to extend the winter right now where you got to find things within the house that you got to find enjoyment in that you do during the winter. So I think that for the most part helps. And then even things like this, talking to other brothers like yourself, that brings me enjoyment too. So one of the things that been helping me on a daily is trying to find things that I was doing before COVID-19 hit that I can do virtually. So before I was public speaking, and yeah, I can't go to schools or go to events and speak now, but I can provide value and do things like this that still scratch that itch of me public speaking. And so I'm doing that now, or just trying to find ways to do it virtually. If you're a trainer, you may not be able to coach your people in person, but you can do it virtually. You know what I mean? So just trying to find them things that brings you enjoyment and do it virtually. And the last thing I say is like we put that King's Corner together at Black Man Hill, and we doing them virtual conversations every week. Just with brothers and having things similar to this, where we talked about how COVID is affecting it was affecting us in last week's conversation. And then this week's conversation on this Sunday at 7 o'clock, it's about anxiety and depression and how to manage it. We have a psychotherapist on there, a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist coming on to share certain tips for men to do during this time and how to manage during this time. So that's kind of, I hope that answers your question of what I'm doing and how I'm managing during this time.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. That was perfect. And I think it just outlines the fact that, being conscious to set aside, that power hour is not a big chunk out of your day. I think a lot of people fail to realize that. And we often think, if I just had more time in the day, if I could just have a few more hours. But the reality is, a lot of us will sit in front of the boob tube and kill time. Or a lot of us will be on social media and kill time. And I have a friend of mine, a family member actually, that reminded me to cut down on my social media time. even though I had already started it. Just being reminded of stuff like that, I think is powerful. So thank you for that, because we want to share as many practical tips as we possibly can. Lamar, I want to ask you, what are some of the ways that you've been managing with the quarantine? And what are some highlights that maybe have come up for you and your family, things that you've been able to do that you haven't done, or some creative ways you've been managing this time?
Yeah, it's been, you know, I know that it's, you know, a bad time, but it's been like a great time for myself and my children. You know, just normal day-to-day life. You know, I work an hour away, so I'm driving an hour there, an hour back, and then, you know, it's homework, and then it's, you know, straight to bed. And during this time, it's like I'm able to enjoy my children. I'm able to, like, every Friday we're getting popcorn and watching a movie. You know, down here just enjoying each other, playing games, and it's getting me to like to understand my children a little bit better, like from a parent point. You know, it's just you think you know your kid, you think you know who they are. Everyone thinks their kid's, you know, so smart, but it's just an opportunity to get to know them better. And then you know, with school also, it's I enjoy that too with my kids. You know, it's like I turned into a third grade and first grade teacher, and and it's been, for me, that's been a blessing. You know, it's like you know, the teachers, they get so much time with my kid throughout the day, so they get to mold them and to you know, show them certain things. But you know, I have no excuse. I get to mold them. I get to you know, be the principal, counselor, teacher, all at once.
And the cook.
And the cook.
And the cook, yeah, and that too. Just you know, before we would, you know, grab food and, you know, just eat wherever. Now we're sitting at the table, and that means so much to me. Every night we're sitting at the table. You know, my daughter, she'll play some music or something, and we just have a good time. You know, we just talk, and it's like I'm really enjoying being with them every day.
Excellent. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. You know, that was something we talked about. And Ihsan has mentioned it a couple times, and how, you know, my primary focus over the past couple of years, and I'll even say it, my calling has been my role as a father.
Right.
And the work that I've been doing over the past couple of years has really been centered around this issue of fatherhood and helping fathers improve themselves for the benefit of their family, right? And it just warms my heart to hear what you're saying, because of the COVID crisis, you know, my two youngest children are actually with their mother, and so I haven't been able to see them. But we've started setting up some regular routines, and that, you know, I went online, I started ordering them some books, so they get books in the mail. And that was one of their surprises. And so my son actually had a conversation with me last week, and we were just, you know, we're just talking just nonchalantly. And he said, yeah, you know, I got to go down here. I was looking at this really boring math book the other day, and I don't know if I want to look bothered with that again. And I said, Aaron, do you know I sent you that book? And it got quiet. And he said, wait, what? I said, yeah. I said, did you get it in the mail? I said, yeah. I said, I sent you that book. He said, you know what? I'm going to go back and read that book again. And so just being able to come up with different routines like that, you know, we video chat and just being able to share those experiences. I think it's up to all of us to figure out creative ways, not only to support our own well-being, but to support our family's well-being as well. So it really warms my heart to hear that again. We're getting close on time. I saw Shawn pop back in for a few minutes. But what I want to do is make sure that several of you have shared some resources early on. And I want to make sure we go down the list and share those resources again. So I want to start with Jamal, because Jamal shared a couple of things, starting with Stop Killing Us. So you share some information, Jamal, the contact information for the different organizations. And you also mentioned a loan program for Black businesses. Could you share that information with us again, and how people can contact you or contact those organizations?
Yes, Black Community Council of Philadelphia. You can go on their Facebook page. In fact, I believe tonight they were having a conference about it also. But it's repeated because what they're trying to do is get people to become a part of this, because we need to show the people that are providing this money that we want this money. Because if we don't show our interest in it, obviously we're going to feel there's no use in having it there for us. And it is for us because of some of the obstacles we have when we try to obtain loans the normal way. So they made this along with, this goes to the part from when you apply to when you get it. And it makes sure that you get it, because it won't allow you to go to the end unless you're ready and qualified to get to the end.
Okay.
And we are helping you all along the way. Okay? So there's no reason, if you really want to get something off the ground, it's really viable and it makes sense, there's no reason that you can't do it with this program and the people who are more than dedicated to help Black people get businesses started. The money is there. But you go to Black Male Community Council of Philadelphia Facebook page, there's information there. Unfortunately, I don't have numbers with me, but if you go there, you can find the information. As far as the community goes, I would like to please people every other Saturday, including this, we will be feeding our street citizens, the homeless, okay, right across from City Hall, Payne Plaza, beginning at 8 o'clock. This was an organization called DOPE, Doing Our Part Electively. So every other Saturday, they're out there feeding the homeless. If you have time, come out there, feed them.
Is that 8 a.m. or 8 p.m.?
8 p.m. 8 p.m.
Okay.
Normally it's from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay. Also, Kids Meals on Wheels, Brother Eric Barrett. He has a web page under his name. He could use some volunteer work, making sandwiches, providing for the community. There's another group, Young Chances, out of South Philadelphia. They feed people daily. You can look them up on Facebook. They could use volunteers. The Poor People's Army. We're always helping to feed people and to use donations, provide people for their families. We take food to people if they don't have it. If they can't get to us, we get it to them. That's a daily thing. As far as Stop Killing Us, this upcoming August, I intend to do the march again from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. to try to approach the Congressional Black Caucus again about their legislation. But I want it to be understood. It's not only about the community violence, it's also about police brutality. We haven't talked about lately, but hopefully we won't in the future. But just in case, we want to make sure we keep our thumb on the pulse of what's going on with our communities.
And how can we reach you specifically for Stop Killing Us? How can we support Stop Killing Us?
Okay, I'm on Jamal Johnson SKU, and that stands for Stop Killing Us. I'm there. I try to post everything I do, and every time I post, I always encourage people to do what I'm doing. So if you see me, whatever I'm doing, you can do it too. And I hope you come out there and join me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Lamar, share some information with us that, what resources do you have to share on information for people to help you?
Yep, well, I did want to say a couple of things, like if there's any adults watching with children, please follow the Junior MBA on Instagram. They provide like shooting trick tips and every day, just different skills and drills. If you're disabled, if you're a veteran and you're going for like disability, please contact the Disabled American Vets, the DAV. They'll help you with your claim. Don't wait, please do it now. On Instagram, our account is DTG Basketball. My personal account is Lamar.Dixon.
Hold on, you have more than that, bro. Lamar, you I don't know if we mentioned, but you're an author. You have a couple of books that people can actually read during this time too.
Yeah. I have a book called Let Fear Go. It's a book about dealing with depression and anxiety, and it's a part of my story. It's available on Amazon. It's called Let Fear Go. I have a kid's book called "It's Not How You Start, It's How You Finish." Again, that's on Amazon as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Great books. I can speak from experience. I haven't read the kids' book. I'm a little too old for that. However, I did read the
No, you ain't. No, you ain't.
Ain't too old for it.
I read the Let Fear Go book, and it's incredible how Lamar broke down some things in practical ways where people can apply it to their daily life. Like, it's really a good book. And not just because I know him and he's a good dude and a good friend. I really appreciate the book from a creative standpoint and from the wisdom that he put in there. So I encourage people to go look for him and support my children. I had 2 sons who were in his basketball program last summer, and it was incredible. And I think that it played a significant role in me building a better relationship with my sons. And I think that it's a decent thing, a decent platform you providing by giving men the chance to be able to connect. And yeah, he's doing a lot of things besides just talking. He's a good father with a lot of good other things. All of y'all are.
Excellent. Excellent.
It feels good that a lot of smiling happened on here today, right?
Yeah. Hey, let's get to Reginald. Reginald,
Yeah.
share some just a last minute contact information for Black Men Heal and anything else that you're doing.
I'll go real quick, because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We're at blackmenhill.org, Black Men Heal on Facebook and Instagram. So you just type in Black Men Heal. We always appreciate a donation. All the donation goes to providing free therapy to men of color. You can subscribe to the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm interviewing different people on there. I would love to have a few of you guys on, Ihsan, Eric, everybody on here to, interview and get the story out. And then I do have a book as well, Suffering into Success, a paradigm shift to struggle to achieve happiness. And that helps people use their struggles as their strength, turn their failures into fixtures, and just use it as a building block to make yourself successful. So I just wanted to put that all together real quick.
Hey, Reginald, where can we buy that from?
It's on Amazon, and then directly for me if you want the signed personal copy.
Gotcha.
That's dope. That's dope. I know Shawn was popping in and out periodically. I wanted to get a chance to share Shawn's information as well. So hopefully we'll be able to put that in the comment section for the videos. Once we go back and we can either put it in the comments after the video is finished live, and then we'll also repost this again later on in the week. Ihsan, you got anything you want to share before we wrap this up?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you all for what you said and also for the resources you provided. I do want to speak on behalf of Shawn. I know his organization is called Vets in the Hood, Philly, and he has a page on Instagram by that name. I'm not sure if he has a resource that's on the Facebook platform, but I want to invite and encourage everybody out there to pray for him and his family. If you heard what he mentioned when he first came on, he got bad news today that one of his cousins is going to be taken off of life support, who's dealing with the COVID virus, and that the virus is also impacting other people in his family. So it was a lot on him today. And I'm not sure if those different phone calls that were coming in today interfered with him being able to be on this meeting throughout. However, he stood on here today. He shared some things from a place of being vulnerable. And I hope the other people take wisdom out of what he said and apply that wisdom. But just want to thank Shawn in his absence. Shawn is right back there right now. But I want to encourage other people to keep him and his family in prayer during this time. And MBKCares, My Brother's Keeper Cares. You can follow the initiatives that we have on Facebook under My Brother's Keeper Cares. On Instagram, we're MBKCares. On Twitter, MBKCares. And our website is www.mbkcares. We're still developing programs, and we still want to be a presence in the community, even if it's virtually right now, as far as the way that we're public speaking. But we intend on executing about different programs that we're going to have over the next 4 to 5 years when we start doing our plans. And thank you, Eric and Lamar. I'm not sure I even identified, but y'all are on the board of the organization, and that's new news over just the last couple of weeks. And I'm excited about what we can do. But I'm excited about what it can offer for other people, not just for us. And I wanted to say something else that was just on my mind while we were doing this. It's decent to be able to talk and have it feel like intimate because we don't see the people who are watching and listening. So we get to still be us without having to worry about the crowd. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to see, like, you know, I heard a preacher talk about how when he did an all men's service, how a lot of the things that were normal for a congregation full of women, you don't have when it's a congregation full of men. So right now we have an audience and a pew, or whatever, a pulpit and a pew right now, just men sharing things, and I appreciate y'all for doing that. And, just thank you, and thank you for the people giving your time to listen to us right now. I hope that something was said that was valuable. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is an incredible resource. The suicide hotline number that I shared earlier, I believe, is an incredible resource. There's help out here. Also, therapy is important, and it does work. I've gone through therapy. I'm still going through therapy. And just because things are going well doesn't mean that you don't have to go through therapy. Therapy doesn't mean that the whole world's falling apart. Sometimes there's just somewhere to go and have a voice that is not biased, a voice that's not attached to your experience. You be able to share things that are on your mind from creative places or just places of planning, or if you're dealing with trauma, a place to go and get some things and get some help. All right. So,
hey, listen, before we go, Shawn just came back on. Shawn, we wanted to share the information about Vets in the Hood, Philly. Do you have any other contact information or resources that you want to share with us before we wrap up?
Hold on, he's muted. Sorry.
Yeah, and listen, I apologize, man. I had some technical difficulties over here, man. But as far as I had to go get my wife, man, to try to figure the Zoom all the way out. That ain't funny, Reg. You know what I mean? You ain't got to laugh like that, man. I'm an old head, okay? Now we ain't gonna laugh at the old head because the old head.
We laughing with you. We laughing with you, bro.
All right, man. But no, listen, with Vets in the Hood, man. Yeah, the information is one of that. You know, we've been able to connect veterans, over 100 veterans, man, to get to their benefits, and that's something that I'm very, very, very proud about, to get to their benefits, man. So the information that I want to be able to give to everyone, is if you're a military veteran and you cannot get through to me. Even if you can get through to me, the person who you need, the person who you need is the Veteran Service Officer. The Veteran Service Officer is a person that actually, the city of Philadelphia has Wanda Pate. That number is 215, and baby, listen, 215-686-3256. The office is actually still working. She's still working right through the COVID virus and everything. They're still placing veterans in homes and still being able to give veterans resources. So that's 215-686-3256.
All right, give us your number and your email address.
Okay, my number is 267-210-5381, and the email is vetsinthehood@gmail.com.
Okay.
And our actual website, if you can write that down as well and share that, is www.vets, just the letter N, thehood.org.
All right, gentlemen. I think that's
one of the things I just want to say this one thing before we will be starting a Vets in the Hood podcast. Vets in the Hood podcast, so we're going to be bringing on veterans. There are veterans that we have helped in the past to get to their benefits, so they could be able to share the information. A lot of the things that happen, we find out that a lot of veterans they lack the information to be able to get the benefits, and then on top of that, they get turned down. But once they get turned down, they shy away from even going through the process. And that's one thing that we want to be able to bring to light, Jamal, as well as you, Lamar, making sure that we get the information out that you must be three things: purpose, your purpose, get your benefits; passion that you go after that to get for the purpose of getting your benefits needs to be second, and then the perseverance to follow through. So that's purpose, that's passion, and that's perseverance. And that's on everything, but especially when going after these benefits, because once you get them, they're lifetime benefits. And they will, and these benefits go and range from everything from a $485,000 mortgage to be able to help you buy a house, buy some land, and everything like that, all the way to just being able to get training and certification, man, to be gainfully employed. So just make sure that you understand, as a veteran, there is so many resources for you. You just have to plug in. And we're going to do that with our Vets in the Hood podcast coming up. We're trying to get on by May the 1st. So I'm going to keep in contact with you guys to make sure that you can bring your guys on, as well as to have people tell stories, man. Give them a platform.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And on behalf of MBKCares, for everybody that's listening and watching online, we're going to share those resources with you in the comments. We're going to make sure that we list everybody's organization and their phone numbers and contact information. And again, make sure you join us at this same time, 6 o'clock next week, for another Wellness Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right, Brother Ihsan?
Yeah. You know what, man? Just so we can also talk about, even with that, the themes on the upcoming weeks are going to be about finances. The following week, 2 weeks from today, is May the 6th, I believe, which is the week of Mother's Day. We're going to have Yolanda Johnson on. She's going to share her story about her son, Elijah, who died from suicide. And she's going to share a documentary on here. So and also going to have a night of being able to focus on creative type authors, singers, poets. Jack Drummond said that he'll be on an upcoming episode. I know, Eric, you had some other people. So I just encourage people to come back, because every week is going to be something different. We now focus on mental health, physical health, veterans. We're going to have first responders on here. We're going to have a different platform, or the same platform, with different people on it every week. And Brother Shawn, I love how you talked about purpose, passion, and perseverance, man. Because all of those things line up with the kind of things that God has put us here for. To find our purpose, allow Him to be our passion, and to persevere through whatever comes our way. I appreciate everyone out there who's on this, and everybody who's listening. May you all have a peaceful night, and God bless you all. Signing out, MBKCares. I salute you.
Thanks,
All right,
Love on purpose.
Yeah.